Number 45 for the Boston Cannons, defenseman Chad Wiedmaier is on the phone with us. What's happening, man?
Not much. Just, I believe it's a Tuesday today. Sorry, I can't keep track of the days these days. But just taking a break from work on my lunch break.
So work for you, how does that work? Is it like a 9-to-5 regular job? Like I was talking to one of the players from one of the hurling teams in Ireland, and they have 9-to-5 jobs, and then they're also professional athletes. How does it work with lacrosse?
Yeah, I should probably talk to those guys. We'd probably get along pretty well. But it's very similar. A lot of guys within the league a lot of guys have lacrosse jobs, or they're running their own teams and clinics, or they coach the college game or whatnot. I'm not. I actually work for a marketing software and technology company called NewsCred here in New York City. So I've been working in sales here for about a year. I love my job. I love what I'm doing, but obviously playing lacrosse and playing for the Cannons is still something that's immensely important to me.
Absolutely.
I love the sport. It's still amazing to have the opportunity to compete every weekend with just, not only some great guys that I play with personally on my team for Boston, but just like really everyone in general in the league. Everyone's out there trying to, push the sport. It's really for like the kids and the growing of the sport across the country at the end of the day. So, very, very privileged to be able to do that.
All right, this could be a very stupid question, but I need this to move forward in our conversation here. What is lacrosse? I mean, I had a friend that played in college, and I see the promos on TV, but I've never really gotten into the sport. I know there's a stick. I know you're throwing a ball around, and I'm not doing it justice. So, what is lacrosse?
Believe it or not, I've been asked this exact question before.
Oh, good.
A couple times. So I've actually coached lacrosse. I actually helped start the Ugandan national lacrosse team.
Oh, wow.
In East Africa. So imagine teaching a sport to people who not only have never played it, but they've never even seen it. They have no clue.
Yeah.
So they have no reference points. I think lacrosse is like really a combination of a bunch of different sports, but I think the closest thing it really comes to is hockey. You've got a goalie, a goal, you've got offensive and defensive players, but imagine it like kind of the general setup and concept of hockey, but you're on grass, and it's a ball, and it's in the air, and it's not too much different than that, but there's a lot of elements of basketball, pick and roll defense, zone defense. There's a lot of elements of football and the physicality of, players allowed to get after it. It's why you wear the protective gear.
Right.
But it's really kind of a mixture and a combination of all those different sports. But, that's kind of how I really explain it. But until you really see it, you never will really know. It's a very, very unique sport, and it's why it's one of the fastest sports in the country.
It is very exciting to watch. Is the stick called the stick and the ball is called the ball?
Yeah, so the stick, the whole stick itself is called a stick. The metal, the handle is called a shaft, and the actual plastic part up top is called the head. And kind of the stringing that holds the ball in the head, that's called your pocket or your mesh, or really, and that's kind of really it. You have your
sack,
shaft, your head, and your pocket.
Okay, and the ball's the ball. Now, when you're running, is there, like you equated it to basketball a little bit, is there a chance of like going overtime with the ball, having it for too long? Do you have to pass it off before you get a penalty?
So that's what really, I think, makes the college game is progressing towards where the pro game has been and is, which is where we actually have a shot clock. So there's a 60-second shot clock every time possession changes, which is great because it pushes the pace of the sport. And for me, defensively, being selfish, it's hard to play defense unless if the offense has to, eventually give up the ball or shoot it or take a chance, because it is not easy to take the ball away. That shot clock speeds up the entire game. Penalties as well? There's plenty of penalties. You can get them any which way. But yeah.
Can it be as physical as hockey?
As hockey, I think it can be. I've played hockey a lot of my life. It can be just as physical, if not more physical, in a lot of ways. Where it's definitely more physical than hockey is obviously you can't slash in hockey. You can't hit players with your sticks. But in lacrosse, all defensemen have a 6-foot pole. And you're allowed to basically, as long as you're hitting the guy in the gloves or on the stick or in the hands and sometimes the shoulder or the arm, you're allowed to hit them pretty hard. So there's no real other sport that allows for that. So you'd be surprised at some of the bumps and bruises guys walk away with. And to be honest, I could never play offense. Each time I get slashed, I'm pretty much paralyzed from like the shoulder down.
Which, the more I think about it, it is a lot like hurling.
Yeah.
I mean, those guys are whacking each other with the sticks. They're hitting the ball with the stick. Very similar, different countries. Did lacrosse originate in America?
Yeah, actually, so it originated in the Iroquois Nation, like kind of in upstate New York, on the border of Canada. But it was actually originally called, it was Begataway. It was a game that I believe the Iroquois Nation created kind of to like really settle in a lot of ways. Like instead of like going to war with other tribes, like they would play the game of lacrosse to kind of decide that. It was a huge spiritual element to it as well, but it was their sport. It's a native sport to America. And then I believe like some French fur traders that were up in the area discovered the sport, and they called it lacrosse, which I believe means the stick, and that's where the name comes from. But it is an American sport. Yeah.
What's a high score for a lacrosse game, or an average score? Yeah.
Average score, I'd say, is usually in the teens. So usually between I'd say between 12 and 15 goals. That's average. High, sometimes they get up into the 20s or mid 20s. And there's lowest single digits, but I'd say an average game's around 15.
And what's the length of the season? When does the season run?
Preseason for the MLL, we start, I believe, the first or second week of April, probably like the second to third week of April. And the championship weekend's usually the second or third week of August. So, like 3 or 4 months in there. And then there's a lot of guys that will play pro indoor lacrosse as well, which is another huge sport. And those guys, there's some guys on our team like Brody Merrill and Kevin Buchanan who they will play from pretty much the third weekend of November straight into outdoor season all the way through August. So those guys, I mean, if that doesn't show you how committed these guys are in addition to working other jobs, I just think it shows a lot for the character of the people that play the sport.
Absolutely. Are you traveling around the country? Are you going overseas? Is it mostly regional games?
I believe there are like 8 or 9 teams right now in the Major League, and that's anywhere like as far west as Denver, and really as far north as like Rochester and Boston, and as far south as Boca Raton, Florida. So the league is growing. There's a new expansion team this year in Atlanta, which is great to see. But yeah, it's all like within the country, and it's really like you work your butt off 9 to 5 or whatever your particular job is during the week, and right on Friday when most people in the summer maybe go on the beach or going home to hang out, go to a happy hour, we all hop on planes, trains, automobiles, and we have late night practices on Friday night.
Is there a common thread between the fans? Do you see that like a lot of the fans are people who may have played in high school or college or have kids that play? Is there a thread there, or is it go right around to really anybody?
It's definitely a mixture of all the above, but I definitely think it's the youth. There's so much, like every single game, there's so many kids there. And I just know, like from me growing up personally, the way I developed as a player is like, one, really, working hard at it and trying to get better every day, but watching some of the best players at your position do what they do, it's kind of like you look at them and you kind of emulate them on the field and try to like grow your skill set based off what's successful for them. So I know it's a blast for some of those younger kids to kind of come to those games, and then to be able to meet all of those players after the game, like the league and Boston especially, we do a really great job of signing autographs for kids, taking pictures, saying hello. So it's really cool to kind of make an impact on like a player who's that young, who's meeting like one of the best players within the world.
Yeah, I think we're really lucky in New England and in Boston to have teams like that. The Revolution, same deal with soccer, and they're very giving to their fans. And you could say the same about the Patriots and the Red Sox and the Celtics. I guess I haven't followed basketball since the Larry Bird days, but it's a great city to be in.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I live in New York City. I love New York, but Boston's a great place. I love spending time up there. I wish I could get up there more and have more time when I'm up there. I'm usually just kind of locked in and loaded and ready to play lacrosse. But, yeah, it's definitely a great city for sports.
Thursday night's game is a very special game. It's Cannons Fighting Cancer, and there's going to be lots of ways to raise some money and awareness for the battle against cancer. Tell me about that.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like cancer, it's still, impacting a lot of people, a lot of families across the nation, across the world. So, we're doing a little bit of fundraising and kind of some ways that you can interact with the team. We're going to be running a clinic. There's going to be a party for a small group of players to meet all the guys on the team. A lot of autographs, a lot of giveaways. So, as many people who can kind of show up. It's for a great cause, and it's going to be a great game. It's game 2 for us against the Bayhawks. We beat them in the first one, so we're going for the sweep.
And where do you guys play?
We play in Harvard Football Stadium. So we were at Gillette last year, which was great, but our home really has always been Harvard Stadium, which is, I've played in a lot of stadiums in my days, and to be honest, it's, no, all bias aside, it's probably one of the better environments in the country. It's just super old Coliseum-like stadium, and if you're a fan, the stands start right behind the sideline, so you're super close to the game, you're super involved, and it's always a pretty energetic environment.
You got fans that yell out your name, and maybe even groupies if we want to go that far. There are people that really follow you guys.
Yeah, I don't know as far as groupies, possibly.
Hopefully.
I haven't heard about them yet, but hopefully, maybe someday. But there definitely are people who come to every single game. I forget what the name of the group is that we have for the Cannons, but they're kind of like what I would call our hecklers. So they pretty much do everything they can to sit near maybe a particular player, on another team during the game, and just have choreographed and constantly have things to say to them, try and get in their head. So yeah, they're definitely some regulars.
Chad, thank you very much for spending some time with us. The game is Thursday night. It's Cannons Fighting Cancer. Boston Cannons. You can just Google that and check out their website. All the details are on there. You get a schedule of the games and the pricing and tickets and all that fun stuff. I am now fully educated on the sport of lacrosse. I appreciate it. And we'll talk to you soon. Thanks for calling in.
Yeah, pleasure talking to you.